size of my hand. It's crazy. Well, it's the Monday before we're supposed to leave Blue Springs Marina, and while it looks nice and cozy here inside the boat, it's actually pouring rain outside. But let me explain why that's actually a good thing for us. Watts Bar Lake, the lake that we're on, like all the other lakes here in Tennessee, is actually a reservoir lake, which simply means that it is just a wide spot in a flooded river. All of these lakes were actually just parts of the river system before TVA came through. So when you see us glancing out at the lake where we have our sailboat now, what you're actually seeing is old farmland that was flooded when TVA, or Tennessee Valley Authority, came through to put in a bunch of locks and dams so that the rivers would become wide enough to be navigable, as well as be utilized for power. Taking a look at the various lakes here, you can actually see pretty easily that it's an old riverbed, and that center line you see is the part of the river that is most easily navigable because it's where the old channel was. In fact, Tennessee only has one natural lake. And by natural, I simply mean not man-made, like the TVA lakes. But Reelfoot Lake, while natural, has its own pretty interesting story that's worth taking a look at should you have the opportunity. And it's absolutely gorgeous there. But back to our lakes. Our lakes are old flooded farmland where the river was allowed to get wider by the creation of locks and dams by the TVA. Cherokee Lake that we had Nuala on previously had just a dam, meaning there was no lock to get us down to the river part below, so we were basically landlocked. But Watts Bar Lake, which connects to Loudon Lake, has not only a dam but a lock that's basically like a gated area that will raise or lower the water level so that a boat can connect from one lake to another. The work that TVA began in the 1930s was somewhat controversial. The hope was to bring some modernization to an impoverished area and improve conditions overall. In 1933, only 2% of homes in the Tennessee Valley had electricity. By 1945, that had been increased to 75% of homes, which allowed for home appliances, lighting, and for factories to come to the Tennessee Valley. In addition to reducing accidents in already existing industries, there were now grocery stores because people had refrigeration that allowed them to keep food for longer. People also had access to radios now, which helped them to connect to news and reality beyond the Tennessee Valley. Not only did TVA improve electricity in the area, but they also helped with soil conservation, flooding issues, and sanitation issues that had plagued the Tennessee Valley for a very long time. But not everyone was pleased with the changes that were coming. Yep, that's a silo out in the middle of where the boats are now. 20,000 families lost homes to the flooding by the TVA. There are over 40 cemeteries that were flooded on Lake Watauga alone, and entire communities like May Springs and Newton, Baker's Forge, and Big Barren are completely lost to the floodwaters. In other spots, there are family cemeteries like here at Blue Springs. Several of the newer headstones face out toward the lake, but many of the older and original headstones face out toward the road because there was no lake when they were originally placed there. So why again does all of this make us happy for the rain? Well, we haven't had as much rain as we would typically have this time of year. So lake levels are still pretty low, as they usually are. They drop them during the winter months anyway, but we really want the water level to come up soon so that we can get our boat back in the water. As of right now, Watts Bar Lake is still about 10 feet below their full summer pool. We have a keel that is 4 foot 3 inches, so we need between 4.5 and 5 feet of water under the boat just to float. Right now, this is the area where we will be be put on the lift and dropped back into the water. But as you can see, it's not remotely full enough for us to get in. So we are hopeful that with the extra rain and with the return of the summer pool levels, that we'll be able to get back in the water this week. Now, the reality is we're in a pretty beautiful situation right now. If we don't get right back in the water exactly at the beginning of April, it's not really a big deal. But for us to keep the schedule that we kind of want to keep and make it as far as possible into the Caribbean before we have to head back home, we need to get started sooner than later. So fingers crossed that the rain keeps coming and the water levels rise and we can get Nuala back in the water soon. Thanks for watching!